Welcome to Yoga to Transform. Now, if you've got dodgy knees or sore knees or knees that really feel the pain from a lifetime of use, this 20-minute sequence is all about strengthening and supporting the muscles around your knees so that your knees can be safe, stable, and strong. My name's Christina. I'm from Yoga to Transform. We are yoga experts in transforming both your physical body and your emotional and spiritual life through the practices of yoga. So stick with me and let's transform your knees. All right, let's start with your feet. So we set the foundation and open to grace. That is the key thing that we do when we start these practices of Anusara yoga. So when we are setting the foundation, we're starting at the feet, or if our hands are on the floor, the hands, and you want to make sure that you are evenly planted in both feet. Now, take the time to bring your feet hips distance apart and make sure that your feet are parallel. See how my feet are parallel. So what it would look like is if you ran your hands down here, it's like two parallel lines from the second toe to the middle of your ankle. Now push your big toe mound, inner heel, little toe mound, and outer heel into the mat. And notice how that kind of starts to create some strengthening in the whole of your body. So keeping that, I want us just to bring our hands onto our knees. Let's just get some synovial fluid into our knees and our ankles and just start to roll the knees around. Just rolling into the knees, all right? And bring your awareness into your knees and feel the four corners of your feet moving across the mat. Now roll your knees the other way. Just getting those knees going. La, 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 la. Fantastic. Just a nice little warm up. And when we move the joints, we bring synovial fluid into the joints to support them. Now, a lot of the pain that comes from our knees is when our knees lock out. So what I mean by that is they become hyperextended and you look a little bit like this leg, not this leg, right? The leg's like right back. You don't want that. What you want is a softness in your knees, but still in alignment so that your knees, your hips, and your ankles and your shoulders are stacking up over each other. So keeping those four corners, bring a little bit of a bend into your knees. Now, for those of you who are hyperextenders, this will feel like you are really bending your knees, but it's just a gentle softness, okay? Nice. Now grab your block and place your block between your shins. Again, return to your foundation, four corners of your feet anchored into the mat. Hug the muscles of your legs to the bones, skin to muscle to bone, all the way in, and use the block between your shins to really start that action of squeezing the shins into the block, like really feel like you're trying to crush it. Now, what you might notice is that your legs, your muscles are getting activated and strong. Now, when we're supporting the knee, what we're really doing is strengthening the muscles around the knee. Now, I want you to bring your awareness up to your hip creases. This is where I'm touching, and then to your inner thighs where I'm touching now. Now, imagine taking your inner thighs out this way and maybe even a little bit backwards. So it's like a movement back. So you're squeezing the block, hugging the muscles to the bones. The inner thighs will be active, and then you move, broaden them out, and then just zip up pubic bone towards navel. Every part of your legs should be feeling powerful and engaged. Now, the last action that we want to do is pull the quadricep, this front muscle, all the way up into your hip so that you're lifting your knee joint. Now, one of the things you need to be aware of when we do any action, particularly this one, is that the four corners of your knee, 1, 2, 3, 4, are still pointing forwards, all right? Very important. Four corners of your knee pointing forwards. If you're squeezing the block and your knees are turning inwards, see my knees, the four corners of my knee are not pointing inwards, forwards anymore, you need to take that action and squeeze the outer part of your legs so that you're working the four corners of your knee to point forward. All right, I think we've had enough of that. Let's come down onto our backs. All right, bending both knees, place the feet on the floor. Feel the four corners of your feet active and engaged on the floor, and take your left leg out. Now spread the toes. That keeps that energy in your muscles. Hug the muscles to the bones and pull the quadricep up. So we're going to inhale, draw the leg up and hover it. Keep the leg about 12 inches off the floor. The toes don't come any higher than your right knee. Keep your toes spread and pull that, hug the muscles to the bones and really activate the quadricep muscle to pull it up towards your hip. And then exhale, come down. We'll do that 2 more times on this side. Inhale, pull up. Now I'm drawing my belly back towards my spine. My feet are engaged. I can feel the four corners of my right foot on the floor, active, but I'm hugging muscles to bones. And there's a pulling up from the heel of my foot all the way up into my hip, activating in particular that quadricep. And come down. Nice. So you have to start bringing a real awareness, inhale, come up, to not only your knees, but your feet. Okay, and notice if you are one of those hyperbendy humans, that your knees will have a tendency to lock out or hyperextend, and you want to be able to build strength to support your knees. Exhale, come down. Yeehaw, let's go to the second side. Now I started figuring out that when I was working one-on-one with women, which I do quite a lot in the personal training world and one-to-one yoga, is that most women, 8 out of 10 women, have locked out knees. Feel the four corners of your feet on the mat. That just brings an evenness into your hip space. And then inhale, lift up your right leg, spread your right toes, push your big toe mound away and pull your little toe mound towards you. Make sure the four corners of the knee are pointing towards the ceiling. Hug the muscles to the bones. Pull that quadricep up into the hip. Exhale, come down. Remember to keep the belly engaged too. 2 more times. Inhaling, coming up. Yeehaw. Spread and engage. Bringing an awareness into the body. Belly is drawn back. Nice. 3, 2, 1. Come down. Lovely. Last time. Inhale, coming up. Spread the toes, pull muscles to bones, pull from your heel up into your hip, activate that quadricep. We're isolating and strengthening that muscle as well as some core work here. It's a 2-for-1 pose, or 3-for-1 if you count the knee support, and come down. Nice. Let's roll over onto our backs. Onto our stomachs, sorry. Elbows underneath shoulders, forearms in alignment, bring your toes down. Now spread your toes, right? And click your knees into the mat just to lift your pubic bone, your booty up, and then lift your pubic bone towards your navel. Now, again, spreading the toes, hug your shins to the midline, imagine that block there, and then bend your left knee and squeeze the heel up towards your belly, fire up the hamstring. Can you feel that? Keep the toes engaged and spread. Exhale, come down. 2 more times that side. Inhale, come up. So really activate. Bring your awareness and your concentration into the hamstring. Squeeze those muscles, activate them, hug your heel to your booty. Feel that firing up and keep the feet engaged. And even notice, are the four corners of my knees on the mat or are they a bit turned in? Pay attention. When we practice yoga, last time coming up, what we're doing is bringing an awareness into what's happening in our body and paying attention and really learning to be wise or tuned in to the wisdom of our own bodies and being able to heal them too. Second side. All right, spread the toes on your left leg. Hug it in. So it's not like a mindless, like, it's a squeeze it in, right? Hug that knee into the midline, spread your toes, squeeze up the hamstrings, all the muscles around your legs, feel them engage, and then come down. Nice. And again, squeeze it in. Now you'll start to pay attention and notice one side is weaker or stronger than the other. So my left side isn't as strong as my right side. So I have to work extra hard to get it activated. Woo! And last time, coming up, squeeze the heel to the booty, spread your toes, fire up that hamstring, hug the knee up into the hip, get everything strong and activated to support the muscles around your legs, or around your knees. Nice. Inhale, come up into table, knees underneath hips, and do some hip circles, big hip circles, just massaging those knees. And then when you've done 3 one way, come the other way. Now, a lot of your your knee issues are caused by tight hips. Inhale, come into table. Nice. And just make your way up to standing. Now, what I mean by that is that the tight hips, you have more flexibility. When your hips are tight, you'll have more flexibility in your knees. So you'll move your knees to try and achieve a pose versus moving from your hip, which is what you should be doing, and that protects your knees. But also too, it comes from lack of awareness in your feet, where your feet aren't engaged, so your knee isn't supported because it hasn't got the muscle engagement around it. Grab a block and place 1 foot on your block. I have my left leg on the block, and come to stand on your block. Now take the time to feel the 4 corners of the foot on the block. Now coming up onto the right tippy toe, hug the muscles of both legs to the bones and squeeze into the midline. Imagine that block being there. So you're really activating muscles to bones. Now lift that right leg up and bring it forward of the block. Flex your foot. Okay, this is already strong work. Now we're going to bend into the left knee, drop our right heel down towards the mat, and then inhale, drive up, push down through the bones of the legs, coming up. Now what you want to do is take your booty behind you, right? So your knee is bending, but we're working these muscles. We'll do 1 more. Remembering you can pause these exercises and do 3 sets of 3. I'm just taking you through 1 set, second side, but you can pause this. 3 is a magic number, and do 3 sets of 3. Standing on the block with your right foot, 4 corners of that right foot engaged, tippy toes of your left foot. Squeeze the muscles to the bones, hug into yourself. Now watch where the knee is tracking. Remember the 4 corners of your knee. Now lift your left leg out in front, spread the toes, activate that thigh muscle, all right? Bend into the left knee, take that bend into the right knee, take your left foot out in front, and drive down through the bones of your legs. This should feel strong, yeah? All right, so you want to, the wavering is just, we want to create some balance and strength around the knee joint to support you. Nice. And then come up. Right, release that. Remember, I'm just giving you 3 sets of 3, but you could do more. You could pause and do more. Okay. Now let's take our feet out wide. Always standing in Tadasana, always 4 corners of the feet engaged, always anchoring in so the feet are parallel to the outside edges of the mat. Let's turn your left toes out. Coming into warrior 2, we'll just do 1 standing pose because I want you to feel this, right? So that action of the inner thighs moving out that we did in Tadasana is strengthening these inner thighs. Now what tends to happen is that if your hips aren't open or your inner thighs aren't strong enough, then your knee won't be supported in these standing poses. So here's a couple of things to keep your knee safe. Knee should be over your ankle. So no jarring forward like that and no kind of coming like this. Really work to bring the knee over the ankle. Now, as you get more open, the back leg moves backwards so that the thigh can come down and you can find that parallel experience. Now, what I tend to see happening is that the 4 corners of the knee should be facing forwards over the toes, right? What I tend to see happening though is the 4 corners of the knee start to collapse in because we have a tight hip and because these inner thighs aren't strong. So we want to move the move the knee from the hip by lifting tucking the tailbone under. So my hand is pushing that tailbone under and rolling it outwards. So this is what we call outer spiral, where the inner thigh comes in and this comes out. The zip up action. But that moves the hip bone, the thigh bone, sorry, which then moves the knee into the correct alignment. So it's far better that you pull back a little bit and work to open your hip, which this pose is a hip opener, versus your knee. All right, let's try the second side. I know I took a long time there explaining things. I'll do it again, don't worry. Turn your right toes out. So pause here, all right? Four corners of your feet, both feet evenly planted on the mat. So even the outside edge of that back thigh is anchored in the mat. You create the muscle support by hugging muscles to bones. When I first came to yoga, my left knee was really sore and weak, and it's much stronger nowadays because of these actions. We hug the feet towards each other. That's that block squeezing the shin, yeah? And then we bring our awareness to the upper inner thighs and we move them back, okay? You'll notice that might bring the knee in slightly. Now, bring your hand to the right cheekbone, the other one here, and tuck the right cheekbone under to move the thigh bone in the hip socket so the four corners of that knee are pointing out over your foot, the toe should be pointing straight ahead, all right? Just like in Tadasana. Now I can feel that is opening up my tighter left hip way more. You can bring your arms up. We're more focused on what's happening in our legs today though. 3, 2, 1. Ground down through the leg, toes point forward, heel toe, your legs together. Nice work. Last pose. Okay. This is a bit of a combination rocket, but we want to come back to that four corners evenly on the mat. Muscles engaged, shins hug in, thighs move back, pubic bone engaged. Now anchoring into the four corners of your right foot, come up onto your left toes, bring your left knee up and straighten your left leg. Now we did this lying down, but your thigh should be activated, right? And you're pulling your thigh into the hip, spread your toes, hug the muscles to the bones, hold for 3, 2, 1. Bend the knee, bring it down. We'll do 1 on each side, but you can repeat that and do 3 if you're super keen. 4 corners of that foot coming onto your right toes. Hug in, squeeze in, lift your right foot up, right? And knee up, sorry, and then straighten that leg, spread your toes. Now watch what's happening in this standing leg, okay? So this leg's up, use a wall if you need to. Now you might have the, oh, I'm collapsing, or what we want to do is bring everything back, but still keep that softness in the knee there. All right, see how you can see a tiny bend in my knee. 2, 1, come down, woohoo. Alrighty, make your way down to the floor. Block between the shins again, lying on your back. This helps find the hips distance of the feet, and plant your 4 corners down into the mat. Squeeze the block with your shins, roll the head of your arm bones back, push your upper arms in, squeeze in to the block as you lift your hips up. Roll a little bit higher. Keep that action, squeezing your shins in to the block, right? Hips are high, pubic bone lifted, activating 4 corners of your feet and becoming super strong as you hug into the midline, pull the muscles to the bones. Now I have a left leg that's not as strong as my right leg, so I'm working harder in the left leg, and that's normal. And then come down. Release the block. Last one, crossing your right ankle over your left knee. Spread the right toes. The activation of your toes protects your knee. All right, that action of the glute muscle pulling the thigh bone around in the hip socket is what opens the knee. So you don't want to push your knee away, you want to move from the hip socket. You can stay here if your hips are tight, otherwise come up here and keep that action of strong toes and feet and a lifting of the pubic bone towards the navel to open up the glute muscles and move the femur bone in the hip socket so your hips are opening, not your knee. Last one, coming down, release that. Return to the four corners of your feet. Find that alignment because it starts in your feet, the safety in your knees, and goes all the way up your legs into your hips. Cross your your right ankle over your left knee. Spread the toes, really activate that support. That activation of muscles to bones helps the knee be safe as you open it. Maybe keep your right foot on the floor or take your hand around the back of the right thigh. 3, 2, 1. And come down. Nice work. And pause here. You can take your feet out wide and bring your knees together for a simple, relaxed, supported Shavasana, or lengthen your legs out long. You can pause the video and lie in Shavasana as long as you need to. I'm going to come up and remind you that we have a fantastic Fit and Fabulous membership. And if you liked this video and you want to get more great tips for how you can support yourself or your yoga students to have really fantastic body awareness and to heal some of the injuries or harm that they may have received in their bodies through alignment principles, subscribe, like, and share, and tune in for all of the extra helpful tips that we have about yoga. We have great classes, great courses on our Fit and Fabulous membership. Make sure you sign up. It's a great way to get these principles of alignment in your body so that you can look after your body for the long term. All right. Thanks for joining us. Namaste.